All right.
Okay.
Meeting is live on YouTube.
Right. I'm just waiting for the window to pop up, and then I'm also going to, here we go. There we go. Okay. I'm going to hit record on my side too. Sometimes I forget. So I'm also going to really quick type hello to everybody. Okay. So yeah, I spelled it wrong. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa, host, researcher, investigative reporter. It is Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. This is GoldFish Report number 493. I am here today with Dr. Scott Werner, a regular friend of the GoldFish Report, and we are going to talk about this COVID-19, and hopefully we're going to get clearer information about what the risks are of this virus and what we really should be doing, because I feel like we're getting so much mixed information. There's so much information going on. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Mara. Thanks for joining me, Proud Lady, Texas. Boy, I love Texas. John, Larry, how are you all? And so, everybody, I'm going to introduce Dr. Werner again. Scott, good to have you back. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And, I'm so grateful we have this ability to get good information out to people.
Yeah. And, so I'm going to screen share a little clip of a video everybody is familiar with. And I want can you make sense of this? I'm asking Scott to make sense of this information for us, because we have doctors giving us different kinds of information. Let's first go to this news alert by Dr. Fauci, who is right now the head of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, right? Let's see what on earth he's talking about.
News alert now on to Capitol Hill, where the nation's top expert on infectious diseases will testify this morning on safely reopening the nation's economy. Dr. Anthony Fauci will testify remotely before the Senate Health Committee, along with 3 other key members of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. And according to early reports, Fauci plans to issue a warning that reopening too quickly could be dangerous. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer urging Fauci not to hold back.
This will be one of the first opportunities for Dr. Fauci to tell the American people the unvarnished truth without the president lurking over his shoulder. Dr. Fauci, let it rip.
Brett Baer, Dana Perino, and our top doctors will join us shortly on all that. But first, our congressional correspondent, Chad Pergrin, kicks off our coverage this morning.
Okay, I just have to stop there for my own sanity. Scott, can you just give me some responses? Have you watched these press conferences or any of them at all?
I have. And, when Schumer gets on, it's like, one of the heads of the deep state is speaking.
Yeah.
And he's like this guy who is very meticulous, like Obama, in his speech pattern. And he's very soothing. He acts like he knows the truth of everything. And, he's always throwing in these jabs at President Trump, which are unnecessary. We know he hates him. So.
Yeah. But did you ever feel that President Trump was in any way inhibiting Dr. Fauci in these press conferences?
Oh, every time I've watched President Trump with Dr. Fauci, he's bowed down to Dr. Fauci as this amazing man who knows all about these viruses. And truthfully, Fauci does know about them more than we want to know.
Well, according to Dr. Judy Mikovits, now,
Yes.
GoldFish Report has reached out to her, and we're hoping that she will join us on the GoldFish Report. And if she does, my co-host Steve and also Dr. Werner here will join us to have a real discussion about this in a much more in-depth manner. So we do hope that she will accept our invitation. Now at movie Pandemic, or Plandemic actually, and we're going to listen to what some other doctors are saying about how, what the advice is. Here you have Dr. Fauci saying, don't open up too, his concern is not opening up too soon. Right? They want to do as much harm as possible because they want to keep, according to what the experts are saying. So let's just give a listen and let's hear what some of the experts actually are saying about this. And then Scott's going to help us make sense of all of it. Thank you very much for that. So here we go.
My death report, I'm being pressured to add COVID. Why is that? Why are we being pressured to add COVID to maybe increase the numbers and make it look a little bit worse than it is? I think so.
Why would they want to skew the number of deaths due to COVID-19?
Well, fear is a great way to control people. And sometimes people's ability to think for themselves is paralyzed if they're frightened enough. And that's not where I want people to be. I want people to say, we're going to get through this. I'm going to use my head. I'm going to go to different sources. I'm going to listen to different sources. And I'm going to think for myself, because that's what America's about.
If someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that as a COVID-19 death.
You don't die with an infection. You die from an infection.
I've talked with doctors who have admitted that they are being incentivized to list patients that are sick or have died with COVID-19.
Yeah, $13,000 from Medicare, if you call it COVID-19.
Right now, Medicare has determined that if you have a COVID-19 admission to the hospital, you'll get paid $13,000. If that COVID-19 patient goes on a ventilator, you get $39,000, 3 times as much.
And you've killed them with the ventilator because you gave them the wrong treatment.
All the things that just don't make sense, the patients I'm seeing in front of me, the lungs I'm trying to improve, have led me to believe that we are operating under a medical paradigm that is untrue. And I fear that this misguided treatment will lead to a tremendous amount of harm to a great number of people in a very short time.
My next question is about Italy. I want to know why Italy was hit so hard.
Italy has a very old population. They're very sick with inflammatory disorders.
All right, let me just stop right there, because what we have is a doctor here talking about, aside from the incentive, I don't understand why they should be getting incentives, but this is a deep state way of, generating some income, I guess. But he says that they're following a medical protocol that is just unhealthy, that is just wrong. So, first of all, you have to give that doctor a lot of credit for speaking up. But what do you, why do you think that that the doctors are speaking out now?
They're seeing that it isn't all that meets the eye. And, we see things and we're told things, and the people on the front lines are seeing something different than what we're being told. And that's why they're starting to speak out. They're going, something isn't right in Denmark, man. This is something that we're not being told about. And, even incentivizing the hospitals. Now, Obamacare is alive and well. It's never been rescinded. The government does have control of our health care now. And what that means is they can pay for what they decide to pay for. And the incentivization is due to this Obamacare. In other words, hospitals can't charge what they used to charge. And so they are influenced by the government response with money. And, to incentivize the healthcare and incentivize the outcome and the diagnosis of the outcome is totally wrong, but it's social medicine, basically.
Right. Right. Let me just play another clip. I fast forwarded it to a couple other doctors who were talking. Hang on one second. I have to get back on that window, and we'll hear also what they're saying a little bit more, since this is what this is all about here. Oops. Some volume would help.
Has been shut down intentionally because there's no way to profit from all these natural remedies that we've had for.
Barely hear it.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this louder.
Yeah, we need to get it loud. It needs to go louder.
I know. It's up all the way. Oh, there we go. How's that?
Still not very loud.
Okay.
With influenza were
okay. Yep. Hang on, folks. We're live, so anything can happen when we're live.
Yes.
Just 1 second. Okay, we're talking about vaccines too, which is another issue, but hold on 1 second. I know it sounds low, but on the recording, it actually comes up pretty good. So let me just try one more time, because right now is where the doctors are coming up to speak. All right, we'll do the best we can here. So here we go.
Injected with coronaviruses and then to put on a mask.
This doesn't make any sense. We wear masks in an acute setting to protect us. We're not wearing masks. Why is that? Because we understand microbiology, we understand immunology, and we want strong immune systems. Our immune system is used to touching. We share bacteria, staphylococcal, streptococcal bacteria, viruses. We develop an immune response daily to this stuff. When you take that away from me, my immune system drops. As I shelter in place, my immune system drops. You keep me there for months, it drops more. And now I'm at home, hand washing vigorously, washing the counters, worried about things that are indeed what I need to survive.
You're not immunodeficient and you're not elderly. You should be able to go out without any gloves and without a mask. I think if you are those things, you should either shelter in place or wear a mask and gloves. I don't think everybody needs to wear a mask and gloves because it reduces your bacterial flora. It doesn't allow you to interact with society, and your bacteria flora and your viruses, your friends that protect you from other diseases, end up going away, and now you're more likely to get opportunistic infections that are hoping you don't have your good bugs fighting for you, if that makes sense.
And then as we all come out of shelter in place with a lower immune system and start trading viruses and bacteria, what do you think is going to happen? Disease is going to spike.
I guarantee when we reopen, there's going to be a huge amount of illness that's going to be rampant.
The building.
Yeah, let's just stop here for a second, because this is exactly what they're saying is going to happen. Scott, and they're talking about the masks. This just sounds insane according to these doctors. What's going on here?
It is insane because we are being suppressed right now, sequestered in our homes. We are not getting exposed to what's out there. And when we start getting back out, we are going to have a situation where the government's going to literally say, see, I told you so, you shouldn't go back out. And they've got people on both sides of the fence. Quite frankly, we need herd immunity. What herd immunity is people are out getting exposed to things that are out there, and they're developing immunity toward these things, so they won't even spread them to others. But what's happened is we've been sequestered, we've been locked up in our homes. Only a few of us have been out there because supposedly we're, needed for the community. Luckily, I was one of those. And but what I found is when you're sequestered, it's exactly as these two last doctors were talking, your immune system actually goes down because you're not being exposed to anything. And then you get out, you start getting exposed to everything, you get sick. And it's because our immune system is actually bolstered by being attacked by everything around us all the time. We have good immune systems. But if you think about, Italy, for instance, so many people with these autoimmune disorders, they're elderly, and their 5G network is very powerful around the area, so that even has been shown to suppress the immune system. So they were a perfect example of what we don't want, is to have the elderly be exposed to these things, especially when they're on immune suppressants. Again, sequestering causes immune suppression because you're not being exposed. your body's not having to react, your immune system's quieted down. And when we take immune suppressants, it quiets down the immune response. So when these people get these diseases, their immune system can't even develop antibodies or defense against it, and they get really sick and die. And this particular virus, the COVID-19, you know, they're saying, oh, it wasn't developed outside the lab, which is a total fabrication lie. The COVID-19 was developed in the lab. And it was first developed, believe it or not, in the United States. And then Wuhan got a hold of the virus, and their lab started making other shifts and changes. There's actually the Xin Li, who is a virologist working at that lab, and they learned how to incorporate what they call the ACE2 receptor, and the coronavirus, they developed it so that it had this S protein, which is a surface protein that can attach to the ACE2 inhibitor, ACE2 receptor. And it's the same receptor that our ACE inhibitors attach to for blood pressure. So all humans have these receptors. And when they got this S protein on this bat coronavirus, which they used, and they inserted other pathologic proteins, the SARS and the MERS proteins. You know, SARS caused, you know, the severe respiratory infection that China broke out in a couple of years ago. And MERS is the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome virus. And they put these viruses in there. Now they've got a method of getting it into the cell through the ACE2 receptors, through this S protein, and it gets in there, and all of these different viral proteins start getting reproduced. And that's what's made this so lethal. And the actual coronavirus broke out in the United States very early on in December. It's a virus that comes out every year because it's a cold virus, causes an upper respiratory infection. We get antibodies towards it, and we become more immune to it. But by sequestering us, they're making us less immune to the coronavirus and its receptor site, which is going to cause an even larger pandemic. Now, the specialists know this stuff, and the doctors know this. That's why they're coming out with this herd immunity decision-making, because we do need to release people out who are healthy, who are strong, get us exposed to this so that we don't carry it. Because you can become a carrier of viruses, especially if your immune system isn't good enough to eliminate it. And so the normal population will become carriers, and we will spread it to these poor older people. And, you know, it's one of those things that is a catch-22. And we need to realize this virus is genetically altered. You know, I don't even want to mention it, but Bill Gates gave millions to the development of it, and it is part of Agenda 21. And we've had the largest countries, corporations in the world sign on to this, because they are all a part of this Agenda 21, and they don't want people to really know. They want to kill off 7 billion of us. The only way to do that is to have a horrible, horrible pandemic. Now, the other thing people don't realize about this virus is it's been engineered so that it preempts our immune system, especially if you get a vaccine to it. It stimulates, number one, it's a virus that gets in through the respiratory system. And by putting it directly into the body, it bypasses the IgM process. The IgM is the antibodies we first produce. It's how you can tell if somebody's had a infection recently, is their IgM is very high. Well, with a vaccine, you don't get the IgM response because you're injecting it directly into the body. And so you end up having a IgG antibody, which means it's a latent infection and it came through directly into the body without the IgM response. And Ig, it just means immunoglobulin, and the M is the first one released, and it's usually produced within the respiratory system, the thymus, and the nasopharynx. And that's where we're exposed to these things. And when we're exposed with a vaccine, there's a different type of immune response that is only IgG. And what this means is our body isn't capable of hitting an acute attack. And so what ends up happening is we have a cytokine system that helps with our immune responses. And when you get a vaccine, and they're going to force everybody to get this vaccine, it causes the wrong type of response, and your cytokine system is stimulated. And when you actually get exposed to the virus, you will have what we call a cytokine storm, because it's already primed. And when you get the infection, the actual infection, your body will respond so harshly, you'll get what we call a cytokine storm, which will actually.
What happened to Scott?
Oh,
where'd you go?
Got rid of me.
Yeah, I know. It keeps holding it. Yeah, sorry. I had my window open. And I kept getting the squirrel come in, and I had to get him out before he went down.
I hope I didn't scare people with that, but the way to stop this cytokine storm from happening to all the people getting the vaccine is expose yourself to the virus by getting out if you're healthy and your immune system can handle it. Yeah. And you'll get sick, you'll get like the flu, because they have altered this virus. It is more virulent, more harsh. We need to develop immunity to it, or we're going to have a huge problem when we get the vaccine and then it breaks out again, because we won't have the capacity to take care of all the deaths.
Well, the problem that we're having is that too many people, the problem is these aren't people who are the people who are in positions of power. Well, you know what? What I wanted to do real quick was take a look at the live hearing that's going on, and see what Dr. Fauci's up to, and then you can comment on that, because this is going to be the most recent most stuff that he's talking about. So.
Was modest, and it was in hospitalized.
You can't hear him at all.
Not yet, or maybe ever to be used either yet as prophylaxis or treatment. So if the issue is that the young individuals who'll be going back to school would like to have some comfort in that there's a treatment, probably the thing that would be closest to utilization then would likely be passive transfer of convalescent serum. But we're really not talking about necessarily treating a student who gets ill, but how the student will feel safe in going back to school. If this were a situation where we had a vaccine, that would really be the end of that issue in a positive way.
Oh, yeah.
But as I mentioned in my opening remarks, even at the top speed we're going, we don't see a vaccine playing in the ability of individuals to get back to school this term. What they really want is to know if they are safe. And that's the question that'll have to be due with what we discussed earlier about testing. So I'm about halfway through the remarks. I'd like to just pass the baton to Admiral Giroir.
I'm sorry, I can't watch this guy. I just can't watch this guy. I mean, I can't watch it because they're safe. They want to know that they're safe. I mean, so the opposite of that is that they should be in fear, right? They should be in fear. They should be, and only the government has the solution, you know? And that's why I can't watch that, because it triggers me. Because the problem is we have to stop trusting these people blindly. There has been no accountability, and accountability is the accountability is we the people's responsibility, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry I
ultimately,
couldn't play it any longer than that. I don't know. Did you want to hear more, Scott?
no. I've
Okay.
seen this video, and I agree with you. Fauci is very framed by the deep state, and he is a part of the deep state, and he is a part of what we would call, you know, he makes more than the president being where he's at in his position. And at least our president's donating it back, you know, it shows that he's not in it for the money. He's in it because he loves the United States. But Fauci, you know, being a part of the deep state means that you follow their agendas.
Yeah.
And their agenda is Agenda 21. By 2030, they want to have totally reduced the population of the world down to 500 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And these pandemics are going to bring that agenda about. And so they're totally manipulating the system so that they have the power to control the agenda. So, you know, if you look at it in a simplistic term, you need to understand who is on the side of Agenda 21 and who isn't. Now, the two doctors talking earlier, they probably haven't even heard of Agenda 21. Most of the doctors I talk to, they look at me with this blank stare and they go, "You mean there's actually an agenda where they want to kill off 7 billion of us?" Well, you know, back in 1980s, when there was only 3.5 billion people, you know, half the amount of people, it was still their agenda when they made the agenda. And, you know, they've been years developing this agenda. Back in the 80s, when the HIV virus came to light, and we came to find that retroviruses were not natural. They were developed in the lab. Well, they're finding that the military has been given a vaccine against this virus already. You know, when Fauci says, "Oh, we don't have a vaccine," he's lying through his teeth. There is a vaccine. They just don't have enough doses to carry through with their agenda yet. I mean, making 7 billion. You know, I looked at the number the other day when they came out with the HR 6666 and $100 billion. You look at that and you go, man, that's got a lot of zeros. You have no idea the difference between 1 million and 1 billion. And making 7 billion vaccines, which, well, they're probably going to make more than that because they're going to give it to us till we have the cytokine storm. But the thing about these situations is they've had this agenda now for almost 40 years. And believe it or not, the CIA has involvement with it. George H. Bush was the one that signed off on Agenda 21 for the United States. And they have been carrying this torch for the last 30 years, and which means, you know, they're ready to do it. And it is a part of the transhumanist agenda, because making the chips to put in everybody's brains or put in everybody's system is taking longer than they anticipated too. Developing the proper chip, developing the proper 5G technology to control all the people through these chips. And so we're, you know, it's Orwellian, you know, 1984 technology and Aldous Huxley, Brave New World technology that they're using to control us. And this is just one part of the agenda, this killing off of the people, because during the killing off process, they're going to have humans left who are immune strong enough that they can tolerate some of these things, but they're also going to develop it so that they become more susceptible to mental control.
Well, okay.
So that's another part of this agenda.
That's horrible. Okay. In that video, Dr. Mikovits also said that the hydroxychloroquine, well, that Fauci knew about this for 15 years anyway, about the hydroxychloroquine treating coronavirus.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, that not only does this kill the virus, but if you don't have it, it has a prophylaxis type of advantage to it. So in some way, it helps you to protect yourself should you get this or come in contact with it. Can you explain that?
Yes. Hydroxychloroquine was made by adding a chloroquine, Hydroxychloroquine was made by adding a chlorine ion to hydroxyquinone, which is a natural occurring anti-malarial herb called quinine. Everybody's heard of quinine. It's in tonic water. One of the reasons people had gin and tonics, especially in the tropics, was the quinine would tone down their malaria. It made the cells not allow the malarial parasite to reproduce, and it made the cells more resistant to letting the malarial parasite in, and so they wouldn't have the fevers associated with malaria.
And it helped them to build this immunity, as you're saying, because you don't see the coronavirus in the equatorial regions where you would normally see a lot of malaria. So this is consistent with what you're saying.
Yes. And so chloroquine, or hydroxyquinone, is also very effective in making the cells stronger against the this COVID-19 virus. Because the COVID is actually made, the reason they use the coronavirus is it's actually got these receptors. And they call it a corona because it's got, all these little things around the viral protein that actually can attach to the ACE2 inhibitor, the ACE2 receptor sites. And they've actually found that people taking ACE inhibitors actually have less problem with the coronavirus.
Taking which one?
The blood pressure pills that treat high blood pressure through the ACE inhibition. That's why I keep going into the ACE inhibitors. They attach to these also, and when they're attached, the coronavirus can't attach. And so, these blood pressure medications can actually slow down the process.
Yeah, Scott, I hate to interrupt you, but there was some reverse speech analysis that I talked about when this first came out that talked about this ACE enzyme. And so I just remembered that, and I wanted to mention it too. The reverse speech wasn't specific, but knew it had something to do with this ACE inhibitor. They thought that this particular inhibitor occurred mostly in Asian population, that was attacking that. And so but the interpretation's not always 100% when it comes, unless it's literal. It's they're usually analogies, and so it's up to the individual who's doing that reverse speech analysis. It's still, I think, a science in early progress, but it was picking up on this ACE inhibitor, absolutely, that you're talking about. So you're saying that this ACE inhibitor, if it's present, it has an ability to block the entrance of the virus.
Yes. And as you can tell, Fauci knows voice manipulation, because when he keeps saying, oh, I'm just here to make you safe. I'm here to keep all of you safe. You know, you can tell right there, he's saying that so that you'll believe the lies that he's going to tell you. I'm sorry, but I know enough about psychology and using your voice to calm the populations and make you feel safe. But, you know, it's a part of manipulating your psychology, because here you have this guy saying, oh, you're going to be safe if you listen to me. That, you know, the next thing he's going to say, it's not really going to make you safe, because it's a manipulation through his words. Obama knew this. And when he would speak, he literally lulled the population in 2008 to vote for him, because we all believed he was going to give us a good change. We all wanted change because we were sick and tired of being at war.
And so he's he's the Pied Piper, is actually. So actually, I don't see him as the Pied Piper as much as I see Fauci more like the medical mafia godfather. And he talks like the god, you know, hey Muggsy. You know, he's got that scratchy kind of, you know, mafia voice, you know, gangster voice. It's stereotyped, okay, in the movies. But I mean, let's just give a listen real quick, because I mean, I think it's very revealing in and of itself.
Availability of testing and what role that might play in returning to school. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fauci. And Admiral Gerrois, you said that while we're doing about 10 million tests this month, that we might be as high as 40 or 50 million by September.
Who the hell needs to do all this testing? What's going to happen if you refuse being tested? Are you going to be, you know, they're going to take your gold fillings out and put you on a boxcar? What's going to happen?
They'll just gas your house with the COVID virus. You know, I'm just kidding when I say that.
It's crazy.
But
I know, but you never know what they're going to do. But you're right. It sounds like the mafia. Sounds like a mafia.
And is tracking everything and everybody. And when they inject with the injection, believe it or not, the trackers, you know, they used to be the size of a grain of rice. Now their technology, they are actually so small, they can get in through a tiny vaccine needle. And so they will put a tracker in you, inside your body, and with the 5G, they'll be able to see if you've had the vaccine or not. But also, they don't tell you, they're going to put nanites in there, and they've been seeding the clouds with silicon to feed these chips that are self-replicating, and they actually will start replicating in your body. Now, one of the reasons people are saying to take silica is it removes silicon from your body. And so a lot of the intuitives are recommending to people, and a lot of the spiritual teachers are recommending get silica into your body to decrease the amount of silicone, because the silicone, these auto-regenerating nanites and nanobots regenerate with silicone that they're seeding in our atmosphere. They're actually creating, you know, the environment. You know, there's more to this than what we realize.
Oh yeah, it's so interconnected into our society. But I also heard that what is this? Borax also destroys the nanobots in the body.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you take like a pinch of it in a 12-ounce glass of water a day, maybe a couple times a day, that will also help. Is that related to that, Scott? Yeah.
Yes, and borax helps the immune system by removing toxins from the body. And so 20-multene borax is pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, although I think it's Arm & Hammer that developed the distribution of it, they've actually adulterated it a little bit now. So you need to be careful, make sure you get pure borax.
Okay. Okay, so those are some things that we could do to help ourselves for sure. What is your opinion about wearing the mask? What's going on where
that's another
you're living?
situation that's affecting the herd immunity. It's keeping, it doesn't work that great. But what it does do, they've proven that the normal masks that people are wearing, even the cloth masks, aren't as good as the antiviral masks. The antiviral ones are the only ones that are proven to keep 99% of the viruses out. These regular surgical masks, they keep you from getting bacteria, but they don't hold back viruses. They're not developed for that, and neither is the cloth. Although the cloth is a little better because it's tight enough, you'll exchange more oxygen. But these darn surgical masks they're having people wear are not developed for good oxygenation, or they're not developed to keep out viruses. And so, having everybody wear these is actually keeping our bacterial immunity down and our exposure to good bacteria down. And so it's affecting our herd immunity. It's making our immune system go down, just like sequestering you in your house does. These masks are keeping you from getting exposed and stimulating your immune system. So there's an agenda with this also. I mean, they won't even let you in Costco without wearing a stupid mask now. No. And my wife went to Target and they were making people wear masks in Target. And it's like, the people don't understand what they're doing by requiring this, number one. And, we've got this Nazi mentality out there where people are attacking you if you aren't wearing a mask. And it's, they're using this psychology to further their agenda.
Yeah, definitely. There's a video here that I wanted to share. It's not all that pleasant, but let's see what happens. Just watch your speaker, folks. Watch your sound because it might come up a little bit loud. Let's hear what's going on here.
You guys are public servants. You should be serving the public. You're not serving the public now. You guys took an oath. You took an oath under the constitutional law to defend the public. You're not doing that. I don't know how you guys can go home in honour tonight and try and infringe me with the notice, which I don't consent to, because we're doing nothing wrong. You guys should be here holding the signs with us, defending us. So I don't consent to what you're doing. Look at this. Okay?
I just want you to notice she has a small child down there next to her. So keep watching in case you didn't see that.
Don't consent. We're acting safely. We're not acting in aggression. So I do not consent to giving my name. Okay. There is no name to give. Exactly. Am I under arrest? Am I being detained here? No, I'm just trying to speak to you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So I'm not under arrest, am I? You are not being detained. I'm free to go.
I am asking for your name because I do believe you're committing an offence. Do you understand that?
I'm not committing a crime. I'm being detained.
I understand.
Am I being detained? No. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you I hope that you're all here supporting and caring for us. Maybe you guys can carry a sign too. I'd love to. Okay?
No. I am going to be asking permission to arrest you. Okay?
I do not consent.
I understand.
You guys are good people deep down.
So, have a beautiful day.
It's sad that you have to do this.
Thanks very much. It is. Because it's our right.
They're doing their jobs and look what they have to.
Better fast forward. Hold on a minute.
My son's with me. I am not under arrest for anything.
Why is she under arrest?
You need to get your
Why is she under arrest? Can you grab the chest? Can you grab the picture, please? Immediately. Why is she under arrest?
Come on.
Why is she under arrest? Why is she under arrest? Why? Why is she under arrest? Why is she under arrest? Why is she under arrest?
All right, that's enough. I mean, look, Scott, this is let's just take a look at some of the things on the
tears at your heartstrings.
It does, but there's something here I wanted to share with everybody. This is a gift from the movie They Live. How ironic, right? That they're saying the same thing: obey quarantine, obey parking, obey mask, obey distancing. This has all been. This is now, we talked about this in our political theater report yesterday, and Jim Fetzer, by the way, also told us about the movie that featured all of this pandemic information. I think it was called The Plague from 2003, and that was their notice. You see, these are Satanists and Luciferians, and what they do is they have to give you notice of what they're going to do to us before they do it. And they use the media, they use Hollywood to give us notice. So let's just, what I wanted to show you was, I'm sorry to scroll, but there was another image I wanted to screen share that was relative to this. Actually, this looks pretty good. This is a deep fake video. But we need to have a little bit of we need to have a little sense of humor every once in a while, right? This is actually somebody put a deep fake. Okay, so let's just go back to the roll here, and oh, look at this, 5-day forecast QNN. So let's just hope there's a plan to counter all of this, because you can't, the good guys can't be out there talking about their plan. Although you do hear Q out there, and we still, we believe Q is a military operation, but we don't know enough about it to say, okay, to sit back and say nothing, because we really do need to be the ones that change this. We all have to do it, but it has to get to the point where we've had enough. And there was one other, here it is. This is a store somewhere. I mean, people are waking up. This is a sign of hope. Look, it's not COVID anymore. It's government control. This is a jewelry store that is putting on their electronic sign the obvious. And in case anybody doesn't get it, I mean, this is what's going on, and socialism. Look, so it's not a mask; it's a muzzle. It's not. Look at this. Yeah. This guy's doing everything he can to help wake people up. A lot of people see this sign, and now, not just driving by, a lot of people are seeing this sign. And the thing is that, it's a pandemic, exactly. Same ones selling the vaccine, they create the problem. It's all about problem, reaction, solution, right? So this is how they operate. This is how they operate. And it's up to us, but we have to do this collectively, because we're not going, you can see what happens when one woman, you see, you think you have rights, but we have no rights. And Dr. Judy Mikovits says this in the beginning of her video, Plandemic, because it is the truth. Now, when everyone wakes up to this, the sooner everybody wakes up to this, the sooner we can restore our republic. Now, there are plans to restore this republic, but this does have to play out, because there's no way we're going to change our government, go back to what it was, because no one knew that we lost it, until people start seeing this play out. And unfortunately, it's really painful for those of us who have been awake to this plan, Scott. It's like Chinese water torture. It's a slow process, right?
I'm just praying that all of the stuff that we've been seeing on the internet about the military going down and destroying all of these child abduction and child, human trafficking caves, tunnels that have been built under every major city in the United States. I'm grateful to see them coming down, and that we're actually destroying part of the other part of the plan is moving a lot of the humans off planet and enslaving them, for reseeding of all things. I mean, the diabolical nature of Satanists here in the United States is just so incredible. And, I was exposed to this Satanism stuff back in the 90s when I was an obstetrician gynecologist, I was having an investigator bring these young girls in to have me examine, and they had been gang raped, they had been tortured, they had been, had all kinds of stuff happening.
Terrible.
And this was back in the 90s, the early 90s. And, you know, here I'm just an obstetrician gynecologist. I'm a happy guy. I love delivering babies. And all of a sudden, because I'm a little different and I have an open mind, I have all these people coming out of the woodwork. I even had people coming up from Hollywood because they knew I was an open-minded doctor, and they would tell me these horrendous stories. And truthfully, when they first started telling me this stuff, I found it very hard to believe. And then they'd show me the scars and the different things that had been done to them. And I was just, you know, I was almost unbelieving of what they were telling me. I thought they were all psychotic. I thought they were all, but when you have so many coming with the same stories, it was like, oh my hell, this is probably really happening. And so we would take and we would try to get the county attorney to prosecute, and they refused to do it. Why? Because they were a part of this. And then we took it to the state attorney general, and he wouldn't prosecute it. I mean, this is stuff that was horrid, that had laws that we could have prosecuted these people who were performing these horrible rituals. And yet that attorney general at the time in the state of Utah would not prosecute it. And I was like, holy cow, this goes high up into the government. And it was interesting because then they, after this county attorney got taken, he actually got put into the judicial system of the United States. And I knew he was one of these Satanists. And they promoted him into the feds. And so I knew that something was wrong even in our federal government, that they would recruit these manipulating attorneys. This county attorney, he was the best at using his voice to make everybody look so bad that the juries would convict people just because this guy was so convincing in the way he manipulated the English language. And that's when I learned about, you know, the manipulation of the language was from this county attorney. He could make even the most pure, holy guy look like he was the worst criminal.
Amazing.
And, you know, it was quite fascinating.
Yeah, well, I think that's, you know, there's neuro-linguistic programming, there's mind control. I mean, you know, it is mind control, though. And so
Yes.
it is to manipulate you, not just the language and me and everybody else. So yeah, you have to be very careful about that, because they have, you know, some of these Satanists have, well, if you're a Satanist, you basically, and you're in a public position, then you basically have a PhD in deception. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So deception, when deception is your major, when that's your expertise, you know, you can con anybody. So we've all been conned, people. I mean, it's a big con job is what this all is. When we have the death rates less than 1% infection rate, actual infection rate, you hear the doctor saying they're being told to bump up, you know, included as a coronavirus death. I mean, I can't imagine what President Trump, unless he's going along with all of this, I can't imagine what on earth he's thinking. And I know a reverse speech, I think it had to play out. Unfortunately, there had to be some deaths and there had to be some impact, because this had to play out for the greater good, for everybody to see the fraud. Because one of the reverse speeches that came back on President Trump, that, see, the thing about the reverse speech is you have to be very careful, because you know, it's not an exact science yet, but the reverse speech came back that Trump had said something about he hopes that he's forgiven for this. And so that's the only really questionable reverse speech that she had gotten, Tiffany Fontenot. She does the reverse speech. From what I understand in my conversation with her, that was really the only questionable reversal she got on Trump. And you would think, that's pretty big, but we just didn't know what it talked about. It's usually related to the forward speech, but you don't know exactly how, and that might be, he might had to let Fauci and let, Brick stand up there and do their thing. And yes, there were going to be some people harmed. But it was something that had to play out in order for people to wake up, in order for people to see the corruption. That's the way I look at it. And Scott, did you see these videos of these doctors who were, all right, so all the people in the hospitals aren't really busy, right? They're making these funny videos of themselves dancing around. I mean, did you see those on Twitter?
Oh yeah. My daughter's a nurse down in Phoenix, Arizona area in Scottsdale. And she said a lot of hospitals are going out of business because they haven't been able to make money during this because they closed everything down. They make money off of doing surgical procedures, and the medical just pays the bills, but it doesn't make any money. And literally, when they closed everything down in anticipation of the flow of patients, they just didn't have it. And so, and the other thing that I did notice is reverting back to what you say about President Trump, I kind of started getting doubts in my mind from all of the negative talk about Trump. And literally, St. Germain came to me and he said, watch this video. And he directed me to a video of the 700 Club. And they were talking about all of these preachers contacting Trump and wanting to pray for him to do the right thing. And Trump was always saying to them, please pray for me to do the right thing. I want to do the right thing for this country.
Right.
And literally, you've heard of the 700 Club. It's, they get these guys on there and they're all preachers and everything, but they were so impressed that President Trump wanted us to pray for him.
Wow.
And he wanted the preachers to pray for him. He wants to do the right thing. And he is human, just like us. He can make mistakes. Believe me, I haven't appreciated all of his tweets or anything, but we need to stay out of judgment and know that God is in charge. God is actually leading very good people. And even these doctors speaking out, they're speaking out from their truth. And it's good.
I have to screen share some ways people are coping with this and playing tricks on, the insanity of the coronavirus. And here's one of them where there was somebody had set up this fisherman. Look, there's a fisherman on the beach. He's got 2 bottles in the sand. He's got his chair. He's got his pole in the water. And here comes some cops. Coronavirus, you can't go out there. Not supposed to be out there fishing, right? And they walk up to him, and this is what they find.
Oh, my hell.
And here you have, the big bad, what the hell's going on? Leave the person alone. He's out there trying to catch some food, It's great because you see people trying, doing whatever they can, to cope with the ridiculousness of all of this. But I was trying to find a picture of some of these doctors. And one of the things that I, aside from speaking out directly, and, there will be doctors who are speaking out who will be retaliated against. That's very unfortunate. We know what happened to Dr. Judy Mikovits. I mean, they put her in prison. She said that there was no charges. that she was a fugitive of justice. I mean, this is the BS they gave her, right? And you know, so she's, you know, been retaliated against. You were, Scott. You know, a lot of doctors have been retaliated against. Some have lost their lives, unfortunately, for practicing the kind of medicine that they felt they should be practicing, however that was, naturopathic or whatever. And so some of the doctors have gotten very creative, and I am looking for one of these videos. I'm pretty sure I reposted it, but I'm really scrolling back a long way to find it. That talked about, you know, like they had this one case where they had a patient. It was a doctor, but dressed up as a patient, you know, and on the shoes was written COVID-19, and they were like doing the conga line, you know, like it was almost like the dancing pallbearers, you know, that video that's going around. Because one of the things that they're trying to do, I think, was to, well, not just show that they weren't working, that they weren't busy, that, you know, but it speaks volumes to the fact that not only are they not busy, and there's, you know, they're not, like you said, they're closing down because there's not enough work, right? Not enough business. But they were trying in their own way to be a whistleblower, to blow the whistle on what was going on in the hospital without directly implicating the hospital, without directly getting themselves in trouble. Because of course they're all dressed head to toe. You can't see who they are, but you know who they are. You could tell you're inside a hospital. Nothing was identifying really which hospital it was or anything, but and they're dancing around, and some people just thought it was, you know, outrageous that these people would dance around and make fun of the COVID patients. But that's not, what I think happened is that that's not what they were doing. And I did bring this up in my political theater report yesterday. It does seem like what they're doing is they are trying to wake people up. And using comedy like George Carlin did is one way to do that, having, like, you know, plausible deniability in a sense that that's not what they were doing, but they were, you know, that they were just goofing off or something. But I think that they had a more important message that they were trying to send to people, and that is they were trying to wake people up and say, this is a scam, people. Take a look at us, at what we're doing. Because
we're doing nothing, because there's no patients. There's not a pandemic right now. They're just trying to instill that fear enough that you go get the vaccine, you get your immune system tuned up to have, you know, the storm, and, you know, it's all an agenda.
Yeah. But here's a nurse, though, on the other hand, in some states, you have a nurse who has come out and she's like crying and talking about what they're doing, that they're actually, like, in her opinion, killing some patients. Let's listen to this, Scott, and let's get your feedback on this, and then we'll start wrapping this up because we're just chit-chatting. But
yes,
I just wanted to get your feedback on this. Okay, anytime now, YouTube. There we go.
Hey everyone. Oh, great goodness. It is 8:42 New York time, and I got to my regular unit and they took my patient away, my black guy. And now I'm getting switched units. This is exactly what happened before at the other hospital. As soon as I told somebody, and like management, and tried to advocate for my patient, they take the patient away from me and then they move me. So, like, I legitimately don't even know what to do anymore. Like, even the advocacy groups don't give a shit about these people. Like, literally, like, Black lives don't matter here. And I mean, that's pretty sad that somebody who is white and lives hundreds of miles away from the city gives more of a shit about these people than the actual people in the city. Like, for real. Like, I had a complete breakdown yesterday because, you know, I missed an important email to do a revision on my proposal, so my proposal got canceled because I was trying to advocate for my patient and talk to management here and get the care that he needs because he's being medically mismanaged. And I just had a complete fucking breakdown because, you know what, my entire proposal got canceled because I wasted my time advocating for a fucking patient who's just gonna die anyway. And sure enough, they take the patient away from me, and then almost 2 hours into the shift, they switch me units. This is exactly what happened at the other hospital when I was advocating for the little Hispanic lady. Guys, here's the thing. Let me try and put things into context for you, okay? I know not everybody's gonna live. I'm not that fucking green or ignorant or, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to think that, okay? I know we're gonna have a shit ton of people die. But these people aren't dying from COVID. Let me give you several examples here. An anesthesiologist intubated the patient's, I think it was right bronchi and of a patient, and they couldn't get the sats up, and for about 5 hours we were waiting on a chest x-ray to confirm that the placement was wrong. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, we've told the anesthesiologist that it was placed wrong because literally only one side of his fucking chest is inflating. He dies. Okay. A patient had a heart rate of 40, and the resident started doing chest compressions on him, which is not what you do. You just externally pace them, or you give him some atropine. And then, I run in there to stop him from doing chest compressions on somebody with a fucking pulse. And then he decides to push epi. He throws some pads on him to defibrillate the guy in bradycardia. Okay, he has a heart rate of 40 in a stable, bradycardic rhythm. We just need to give him some atropine and pace him. He fucking defibrillates him and kills him. And I was literally ran out of the patient's room to get the director of nursing who was standing out there. And I'm like, can you stop him? He's going to kill that patient. He's going to kill that patient if he defibrillates him with bradycardia and a heart rate of 40. And the director of nursing just shook his head, and I turned around and he killed the dude. Okay. There was a nurse who played it.
Okay, so that's a couple examples of what's actually going on in some of these hospitals. Scott, I saw you shaking your head. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I've seen it happen. Nurses are more in tune with the patient than anybody. They're the compassionate caretaker. They're the one in the room taking their vitals. They know what's going on with the patient. And, it's interesting because my daughter is like this nurse. She knows what's going on with her patient. She makes suggestions to the doctors for better care. They know the drugs that will help. When she talks about atropine, that would be the best thing because that will literally bring up the heart rate. Mm-hmm. And, and the doctor's doing the exact opposite of what he should be doing. Mm-hmm. In fact, compounding the problem and medical intervention is the third leading cause of death. And during this COVID virus thing, it's probably even increased. Mm-hmm. Lung disease went from 6th to 4th and may even have moved ahead. But, cancer currently, the immunizations, Dr. Mikovits talks about this. Mm-hmm. It has the genetics to turn on cancerous genes. So even the immunizations can have the genes to turn on cancerous genes. Why? To fulfill Agenda 21.
Right. She said in her video that it was that one of the things she blew the whistles on was that they were using human fetal cells and animal fetal cells in vaccinations, which were causing massive amounts of disease. Someone else also says you can check placement without x-ray, and ventilators don't help COVID patients. So do you want to comment on those three things? So the first thing, I'm sorry, let me start with the first one. Dr. Mikovits had said that, I'm sorry, and I just even lost my own train of thought. I'm sorry, I lost it. Someone said you don't have to, you can check placement without x-ray. So
Yes.
can you confirm that?
Oh,
and also,
absolutely. You can take and put your stethoscope on and
check
hear
placement.
the air movement in the lungs. And if it's not moving in one side of the lung or the other, see, that's the problem is most of the doctors are so disconnected from actually doing physical exam on the patient.
Wow.
That they're not doing basic things that, you know, touching the patient. People are freaked out to even touch patients. I remember when AIDS came out, the doctors were so much in fear that, you know, my first delivery was because this lady broke her bag of waters and scratched this guy, the intern's arms, and literally scared him so bad that he was going to get AIDS from this unknown patient. That he literally threw his hands in the air and told me, she's yours. And I'm a third-year medical student on my first day of my third year. I'm sitting down and doing a delivery because I'm not in fear. But he was totally in fear because of the AIDS scare. Fear is a great manipulator. And right now they are using fear to the max. And many of us have been geared to these fears through our movies, through the news, through all the people around us who are in fear. And that fear generates a vibration. That vibration is the same vibration that allows parasites and fungus into our bodies. If you think about fear, fear has no real beneficial effects, except that it stimulates your sympathetic nervous system, shutting down the flow to your brain so you don't think as clearly. It increases the heart rate, but it decreases the flow to the vital organs because it shifts the flow to all your muscles so you can run away. Well, most of us don't even dare to run and get those fear hormones out of our body. When they can get you into fear, then mind control works even better.
Yeah, it's the first comment was that Dr. Mikovits had published research paper of her findings that human and animal fetal cells were causing large amounts of disease. This was the paper that Fauci held up and threatened to fire her over. And then this was what started that whole downfall of everything. So if we're getting injected with vaccinations that have human and animal fetal cells, that's other DNA. I mean, what if you're a female and you're being injected with male, fetal DNA or vice versa? What's going on with that? What's happening? And is that, and because animals have coronavirus. Go ahead.
Yeah, it has the stem cells. The fetal tissue has more stem cells than anything. And it's called multipotential cells, because they can become all different types of cells in the body. Now, I hate to say this, but using fetal tissue has been a part of Agenda 21 since the 80s. And, when they made abortion legal here in the United States, it actually surpassed live births in the late 90s. And in other words, there were more abortions than there were live births. And part of this agenda was to make more fetal tissue available for experimentation and usage in products. Now, most abortionists I've met are very uncaring, unbelieving, agnostic, Agenda 21 proliferative people. They, I've met doctors who would do C-sections and literally clamp the tubes down as they were doing the C-section and literally sterilizing women without their consent. And I met these people when I was medical student, intern, and I would question them about it. And they were like, I'm doing what's best for them. And I'm like, you haven't even asked them.
Wow. Wow.
And I got severely reprimanded because of it.
Wow.
In fact, they would give me bad marks that, I disrupted the surgery by questioning what they were doing. And so, it's interesting how even the manipulation of doctors happens during our training.
Yeah, I did that once. It's interesting. I didn't have, medical training, but I used to make facial prosthetics, and I'd have to attend surgery sometimes to help with, facilitate that, because sometimes there would be, you'd have to fit a prosthesis over something that's residual, right?
Yes.
And so I was attending surgery of someone who needed a skin graft from a very bad burning. Someone set her on fire, actually. And so these interns were taking the graft, and they were supposed to irrigate the site, the donation site, the site that it was going to be, and they weren't. And my intuition's like, they're not and I was watching them, and they weren't irrigating it properly. And I mentioned it to the doctor, and the surgeon he was the chief of this hospital, the chief of surgery at this particular New York hospital, and I mean, the guy had so much respect for me and what I was doing that, he told those interns, you better do it again, re-irrigate that again, because he knew I would go to his office and I would borrow his books and I would read them. And so he had a lot of respect for me. And I did actually start out pre-med, but I didn't go into, I actually went into psychology instead. But, I loved it, but I was concerned that it was going to fail. The graft was going to fail. But sometimes you have to speak up, and for me, that was a different circumstance. And I really didn't have any right to say anything in that room, but that was my patient that I was helping make prosthetics for. And I was, too bad. I'm her advocate. I'm going to be her advocate, because I'm a human and it's the right thing to do. And, there's going to be people like that. And, sadly, you're going to run into problems when you do that. But fortunately, I had a great relationship with the surgeon, and he really had a lot of respect for me, and that I paid attention to what was going on during the surgery, and I was able to comment on that. But because he and I worked very closely together to help rehabilitate his patients who had, severe burning and disfigurement, mostly from trauma or fires and things like that. And I never ever talked about this before in any detail on GoldFish Report. Nobody knows anything about my background. That's okay. They don't have to. But I'm identifying with you in that moment because I could, and that was, it takes a lot to step up and say something. But, once you realize that stepping up and saying something gets you in trouble, it's really quite a dilemma. I can't imagine, for you.
Well, people like us, we just, we have to say the truth. And that's why we're on the GoldFish.
I know. Exactly.
We can't hold it in us because we see things and we know something's not right in China, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because we know we're very connected, and we know that every move we make is watched and accounted for.
Yes.
And we want to serve the highest good. I mean, it's one thing to make a mistake. I don't think it's in our character to deliberately do any harm to anybody. I think that we're definitely capable of making mistakes, and unintentionally. And you hope, and if we ever did, I would feel so horrible. I would feel so horrible. Oh my God, I would feel so horrible. I'd probably never forgive myself if I really ever did something to hurt somebody. Like really severely hurt somebody in any way that was like, oh God, I would have a hard time living with myself for that. I think I'd eventually forgive myself, but it takes a certain person, to stand on your morals, especially when you know that that's not the popular. And it's hard. It's hard to find a place in the world like that, because you just see so many people who so easily will will turn on you in a heartbeat. They'll turn you
Yes.
in. They'll I mean, I was joking about this, guy on the beach, and the police came out there, but there's people who have been whistleblowing on people. Whistleblowing, right? Somebody wasn't social distancing the right amount of space or something, or they went and did something without a mask on, and they have next door neighbors knocking on them, calling
Calling the police.
telling on them and things like that. Now these people are all worried for their life. It's like, you should just mind your business, because what we're seeing here is a fascist takeover of America. And if we don't see it as that, then you're part of the problem,
Yes,
not the solution.
absolutely. And so the bottom line is, don't go into fear. Trust your own intuition.
Yeah.
You can't trust your intuition when you're in fear, because fear vibrates so low that you're not going to get the correct messages.
Mhm.
And so keep in hope, keep in faith, keep in love, the higher vibrations, joy. This is not a time to be watching scary movies and going watching pandemic movies and all this stuff. This is a time to center yourself and become more spiritually connected through love, through joy, through peace. We've even had today, I got an email showing me all these Catholic cardinals saying to the world, we need to start having church again. We need to start having our faith boosted up, our love boosted up. And I'm like, yeah, we're finally having some higher ups tell us what we need to be doing. And, it's amazing to me how we've literally removed ourselves from these kind of uplifting events. And, that's a part of the agenda, is to remove us from our ability to gather as groups and buoy each other up and love each other and be kind to each other. They did studies way back in the 70s that humans thrive, especially babies, with being touched. They'd have these babies in the ICU and they wouldn't let anybody touch them because they were afraid they'd get infection and this and that and other things. And the kids did not thrive. They didn't survive because they were never touched.
Right.
And they found that adults need 20 hugs a day. Now, how many people do you know that get 20 hugs a day?
My kids do.
We have been taught to shake hands. We've been taught now to, do the fist bump or the elbow bump or anything, not to get germs, not to get the herd immunity.
Right.
And all of this is a part of the agenda. It's amazing how they know the psychology and the physical responses to all of these connections. And they're trying to disconnect us from each other because they know the fear and the disconnection is going to make us not be able to see and understand.
Right. Morgan is commenting in the live chat, and I have been reading all of the live chat messages, and and she's commenting that older people need touch also, and you're absolutely right. They need, sometimes their legs, they don't get great circulation, so a little massage on the legs helps them, and a little massage on the shoulder if they can tolerate it, things like that. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, no, my girls, definitely get like 20 hugs a day, more than they want when they're with me. I only have them, half the time, but like 2 weeks.
Half the time they're getting their vibrations up.
Yeah, two weeks.
That's
a
good.
month. Right. And so this is the thing. We have to realize what it is. First of all, realize it's an agenda. No, on a soul and spiritual level, we do not consent. All right, I'm writing this down right here, right? Okay.
Yes.
I do not consent. There you go. I should put that in the capital letters. I tried to. I do not I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself. So that's why I'm writing I in here. But everybody needs to say this. I mean, and you have to realize that this is what's going on. But if you go into fear, you're going to help them achieve it, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing that I needed to say, and Vicki said, definitely say this, remind everybody that you were created by God, and so you have God within you, and you are a creator. And when you go into fear, you can't create because you're more into the mass, the solidity of this third dimension. When you go into love and the creative mode, you're more in a higher vibratory state, and you can create whatever you desire or uncreate whatever you desire. So, I told Vicki a couple of weeks ago, I said, if they come out with the vaccine to make it mandatory, you can't leave your house if you don't have the vaccine, I'm going to go ahead and let them give it to me because I know I can uncreate anything they put in that vaccine. If it goes in my body, I can tell my body to deactivate all the nanites, the nanobots. I can deactivate any of the DNA or the DNA material. I can replace it with perfected DNA because that's all what St. Germain gave us the information back in 2014. We can bring perfected DNA back into our bodies. And you can find that on my website, scottwerner.org, and download it. Start saying it every day for 144 days, and you're not only going to perfect your DNA, you're going to make it even more powerful and make you more powerful. So this is a good time to do that because that will make you even more powerful to uncreate anything they're putting against us. And, we need to even love them and send them messages telepathically. We want you to wake up to what you're trying to do to all the humans. This is against the ascension. This is against the plan of God for humanity. You are following the plan of the Satanists. And, quite frankly, Agenda 21 is a Satanistic plan. And I was supposed to say that out loud to all of you so you can understand. If you're a part of that agenda, you are not following. You're not following the God of the universe. You are making your own agenda, which whenever we make our own agenda outside from God, we are not following God, and so we are against God. And so, even the fluoride, the chlorine, making our pineal glands not work as good, so we don't have that spiritual connection, that's a part of Agenda 21. And it's been around since the agenda of the fascists, even prior to World War II. They controlled the people through fear, through separation, through non-love connection. And, even pornography is a non-love connection. All of these things, the pedophilia, all of it has to do with the agenda of separating our souls from God. And so I guess we can end with a blessing. Oh, I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, someone was asking about the 12 by 12 strand DNA meditation, and it is on the goldfishreport.com. It is on the links page. I think it's docs page or links page. So you can go there. In fact, all the documents that we shared in our interviews with Winston Shrout, remember, all these documents, reports, stories that we, would share, they're all there on that page, all the ones that Winston wanted to share with everybody. And that was also included there. I believe it's still there. If it's not, you can always email me at thegoldfishreport@gmail.com, but I'm pretty sure it's there. I always made, a point of making sure that those things were made available to people. So we need help. God help us all, and let's ask for that help right now. So
Yeah.
go for it, Scott.
and people pray for Dr. Mikovits, because
yes.
Last time I looked, she's getting attacked. I was getting attacked by a CIA mind control device, and I recognized it, and I asked Smarty to help me. Smarty is John Mendez, and he's one of the smartest guys I've ever known, and he made a holographic programmer for me and sent it to me right away. And so I've been feeling better since I've been deprogrammed, because they were trying to even program me, because I'm kind of an advocate for love and light, the truth.
All right.
Let's give the blessing. In the name of the Almighty, I am that I am, and by the powers of the great divine director, all the ascended beings of light and love, the cosmic beings of delight and health, we ask that you come in and help all of the humans on planet Earth. We ask that you assist us with creating more love, creating more light, creating more unity with all of us, that we can combat what's happening on planet Earth, that we can give, that we can help all those who are in a starvation mode, because the distribution systems for even food have been shut down to the countries needing it the most. We bless that we will open our heart's love. We will open our minds to the truth. We will give each other love and hugs and help each other to become more enlightened beings. We bless you that you will find the 24-strand DNA manifestation and manifest the perfected DNA back in your bodies, so you'll be stronger, healthier, more beautiful every day, and that you'll have the power to uncreate anything that is given to you, including vaccines and nanobots and silicon. Bless you that we can become the humans that we are meant to become, and help the earth and help all the people get ready for the ascension process. We bless each and every one of you that this Agenda 21 will be dismantled for what it is, a power of control and mind control and control of all the humans through fear and transhumanism. We bless each and every one of you that you will know that you were made by God, God's image, and you have powers within you to create good and beautiful things. We bless you that you will do this in the name of the Almighty, I am that I am, and all the ascended masters, including Jesus, Sananda, and all the other ascended beings of light and love. So be it.
So be it. So it is. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you for helping us understand this and put it into perspective in a more medical sense too, because you know, they have their experts and we need ours, and we do appreciate you being here as our expert too, to help us understand this. And I'm really grateful for your time today, Scott. And I really do hope that Dr. Mikovits accepts our invitation and joins us on the GoldFish Report.
And our prayers.
And our prayers, yeah. And also that Scott can return for that one as well, because I'm sure we'd have a very interesting conversation on virology and on a lot of things. And maybe you know, the goal is always the hidden agenda is always to find a cure. I mean, find not just a cure, find a cure for the problem, find solutions. That's always I mean, it's not hidden, it's the unspoken agenda. It doesn't need to be spoken, not hidden in that there's something to hide. It's just unspoken, that there's the hope is always for good to come of what we're doing, for good to come of, and even solutions to come of our reports and the information we present. So we do hope that everybody does receive that goodness, and we just keep tuning in so we can give I don't know how many people are in here, but can we get a few thumbs up from everybody? Because that does help the video circulate a little bit better. So that would help. And so that's it. So Scott, thank you so much. Thanks for joining me today, and really helped us to understand this a lot more. Should we wear the mask or not? Do you think we should? Do you think we should be arrested for
I think we
not
need
wearing
to
it?
protest against that and start making the doctors come out and say the masks don't help against the virus.
Right.
And, because it's all in the agenda and separating us.
Yeah.
And so we need to be unified, we need to love each other, and we need to telepathically wake people up, especially these Satanists. We need to pray for them, that they see the light, that they come to a knowledge of what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And so pray for the people who are for Agenda 21. Pray that they come out of that belief system.
Right. And this is the time to be making peace, not war. People that you have issues with, find healing, put it behind you, because we need to unite. We totally need to unite. We need to stay strong together and stay united, because they are trying to depopulate humanity. And we definitely need, oh, thank you. That's what it says. It's funny. It says like a certain number watching, and it's like 3 times that number by the time it fully uploads to YouTube. It's like, well, how did that happen? Okay, so anyway, Scott's website is scottwerner.org. I put it in the description section. You'll be able to see it down there, the video. You go to the free downloads. That's what he's got there. So everybody, I hope to see you again soon. I'm not sure what our schedule is going to be like. Well, I'll be back on Friday with our POTUS report, of course. Never missed a week. Came close a couple times, but I never missed a week of reporting our president and what's going on. So we've got to make sure he's draining that swamp. Okay, everybody. Scott, have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much for being in our live chat and for your comments and your contribution to this to the discussion on the topic today. Everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And to all the viewers who are watching, thank you as well. So we'll see you soon. And this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report.